It's the Patriots and the Giants. Winner take all. We have an all-access pass to the players before the big game. Plus, radio host Mark Levin shares a page from his latest bestseller.
Well, welcome to this edition of the 700 Club. For years, Palestinian terror groups have murdered countless Israeli civilians. But what most people don't know is they've also killed and injured dozens of Americans.
And now there's a movement to have those Palestinians face justice here in the United States. But as Eric Stakelbeck reports, the hardest part may be getting Washington to take action.
When Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit was released by his Hamas kidnappers last fall after years of captivity, many Israelis cheered. Yet Israel paid a heavy price in the deal. Over 1,000 hardened Palestinian terrorists were exchanged for Shalit, including some who were involved in the murder of American citizens.
We know of at least 15 terrorists who were released who were involved in attacks with American casualties.
U.S. citizen Alan Bauer and his young son were among those casualties. In 2002, they were seriously wounded by a Palestinian suicide bomber in Jerusalem. Bauer says two of the planners of that attack were released as part of the Shalit deal, as were others who've been involved in attacking Americans. At least 54 U.S. citizens have been killed by Palestinian terror attacks since 1993. Another 83 have been wounded, some seriously. The attacks have targeted American tourists, students, and expatriates living in Israel or the Palestinian areas. Alam Tamimi helped mastermind the deadly bombing of a Sabaros pizzeria in Jerusalem that killed 15 people in 2001. Among those murdered was New Jersey school teacher Shoshana Greenbaum. Tamimi, who was released in the Shalit deal, now lives in Jordan and is unrepentant about her actions.
You feel sorry?
لا
بالمرة؟
نهائيا. لماذا؟
We have an extradition treaty with Jordan. If America wanted to get this woman and have her stand justice, we could.
Sarah Stern is president of the Endowment for Middle East Truth in Washington. She says the U.S. government is not following through on cases involving Palestinian terrorists.
There's a 1990 anti-terrorism law that says that any time an America is killed anywhere in the world, we have the right to retrieve that suspect and have him stand justice.
When it became clear that wasn't happening, Stern helped push through legislation on Capitol Hill that would bring justice to American families affected by Palestinian terrorism. That led to the Department of Justice opening an office devoted to American victims of overseas terrorism. Yet in the 7 years since that office opened here at DOJ, not one Palestinian who's been involved in terror against Americans has been extradited or even indicted to face justice in the U.S. In recent years, the U.S. has extradited a Somali pirate, al-Qaeda members, and several Israeli citizens who were involved in drug trafficking and internet fraud, but no Palestinian terrorists. A Justice Department spokesman told CBN News that DOJ is committed to the principle that those involved in terror attacks against U.S. citizens anywhere in the world must be brought to justice, whether in the U.S. or elsewhere. Bauer isn't convinced.
The U.S. government's decided that extraditing Palestinian terrorists would hurt its reputation with the Palestinian people, with the Arab street, and as such it has made no real effort.
He hopes that will change. Along with other victims of Palestinian terror, Bauer recently sent a letter to Attorney General Eric Holder urging him to bring their attackers to justice. Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Eric. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you have to recognize what one of the candidates said in the debate. It was highly criticized, but it's the truth, that this Palestine thing is a fiction. There is no historic nation of Palestine, and these people are not Palestinian as such. They're Arabs who have come into what was historically Israel, and they've set up shop there, and they've lived for a number of years, and now there's terrorism among them, and the Palestine Liberation Organization was a front established by the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. And we have to recognize, and they have done the unspeakable things to their own people, and they're doing it to us. And so we worry so much about what the Arab street thinks. I think it's a fiction. And it's time the United States stand up for the rights of its own citizens and not have them kidnapped, tortured, beaten, and killed. Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories in the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Pat, the media often frame abortion as a women's rights issue, yet women are the ones who are leading the fight against abortion. That was clear at a Washington gala that Paul Strand attended.
This bash was put on by the Susan B. Anthony List, a network of 1/3 of a million women pushing for female pro-life politicians. Marjorie Dannenfelser leads it.
The truth is that, number one, women are at the helm of the pro-life movement at this point.
These female-led groups point out the majority of women are pro-life, and it's because so many believe abortion actually harms women.
People keep flocking in our direction as women themselves are speaking up to talk about how much the abortion experience damaged them, how much they regret that decision.
Radio personality Mary Catherine Ham emceed the event. She joked that pro-choice feminists have insisted that liberated women can only believe what liberals believe.
You have all the freedom in the world. And they said, you can stand between here and here. We choose to stand somewhere different.
Senator Marco Rubio spoke. His latest pro-life cause is trying to undo a new Obamacare order that all employers, including religious ones, must pay for contraception, even the kind that aborts the unborn.
So this administration, in an outrageous overreach, is basically saying that their policy aims are more important than the religious liberties guaranteed by our Constitution.
New York Congresswoman Anne Marie Buerkle received the highest award of the evening, but she turned right around and told the pro-life audience,
"You support women in a crisis pregnancy and the crisis pregnancy centers. You help them and you help support their unborn children. And once the babies are born, you are the heroes."
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
The White House plans to end combat operations in Afghanistan next year. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta says U.S. forces will then focus on training and supporting the Afghan army. Other countries are looking to speed up their withdrawals from Afghanistan as well. The current NATO strategy calls for a withdrawal of all combat troops by 2014. Pat?
Well, you know, the truth is, as soon as we pull out, the Taliban is going to take over. They're allied very closely with the ISI in Pakistan, and the Pakistani generals are sympathetic to it. I mean, after all, they hid Osama bin Laden in that Abbottabad military installation. Now, here he is, the wanted criminal terrorist, and he's right in the middle of their military installation. They are going to link up with the Taliban, and they will take back over Afghanistan, and all the treasure and lives that we have spent there will have been wasted. And the thing of it is, the American people don't want to hang around there any longer, and I can't say I blame them. And we have a corrupt president in Afghanistan. Karzai is weak and corrupt. And we have done nothing to eliminate that enormous amount of opium. The opium poppies grow out in plain sight, thousands of acres of the things that we could have eradicated, and we didn't do it because it might upset the Afghan farmers. I mean, so on and on and on, but it's an exercise in futility, and I salute the brave men and women who've been there, and you think of the danger and the damage and the horrible scars in their lives, and you ask yourself, for what? And you wish you could say it's for the defense of freedom, and it is just because they're brave Americans, period. Lee?
Pat, Indiana has become the nation's latest right-to-work state. The new law there allows workers to opt out of paying union fees. The Indiana Senate passed the measure in a 28-22 vote. Thousands, as you see here, took to the streets outside the State House to protest, but Governor Mitch Daniels immediately signed the bill into law. 22 other states have similar laws. Indiana is the first, though, in the nation's so-called Rust Belt. Sugar is as dangerous as alcohol and tobacco and should be taxed and regulated. That's the conclusion from a group of researchers at the University of California, San Francisco. They published their views in the science journal Nature. They say sugar is a cause of some of the worst diseases, including cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. And they say a little is not a problem, but a lot kills, slowly. Some lawmakers have considered measures to deal with sugar, like taxes on soft drinks, but many analysts argue there are other causes for diseases like a lack of physical activity. George Beverly Shea turns 103 today. Shea, of course, is known as America's beloved gospel singer. He performed at Billy Graham crusades for more than 60 years, and it's estimated he sang live before 220 million people. Shea won a Lifetime Grammy Award 2 years ago. He plans to celebrate today with his wife and family at his home in Montreat, North Carolina. That, by the way, is where Billy Graham lives. Shea has said his secret to long life is, quote, the Lord, a good wife, and coffee. Now, Pat, I know you would agree with the first two of those at least, wouldn't you?
Lord, good wife, and the thing about George Beverly Shea is he is so placid. He's just such a nice guy. He doesn't get mad at people. He just wants to live for the Lord. And I think coffee might set him on edge a little bit, but if he thinks coffee doesn't...
No, I just want to say I'm totally with George Beverly Shea.
Well,
and coffee doesn't set you off. Coffee is like a wonderful thing.
A fragrance, nectar
Yes.
of the gods from Mount Olympus.
Said it.
Okay, well...
From your lips to God's ears, right?
We will celebrate 100 together. All right?
There you go. Well, coming up, America has been called the land of the free, and yet we're not even free to choose our own light bulbs. Radio host Mark Levine tells us how our freedoms are being eroded. That's next. And then later, we're going to take questions from our chat room. So you'd like to head to cbn.com, send us your questions right now. We'll get to them a little later in the show.
Still ahead, 100 million people will watch this year's Super Bowl. Hear why these players say they're playing for an audience of one.
If you've got money in an IRA or 401k, this is your wake-up call. While you were sleeping, Washington has been printing money day and night. So your savings are losing value. Protect your retirement by adding physical gold to your IRA or 401k. Not gold stocks or gold futures. Physical gold you can hold in your hand. Now more than ever, physical gold is portfolio protection.
Hi, I'm Ed Moy. Why did I open my gold IRA with Morgan Gold? Because they own their own inventory, so they can deliver quality coins in 2 to 3 days with no complicated binding agreements.
Get your free IRA analysis today. Call 1-800-501-6355.
A Morgan Gold IRA isn't just for mint directors. You can have one too.
Call 1-800-501-6355. That's 1-800-501-6355 or visit morgangold.com.
Wake up. Make the call.
Tomorrow,
I was in a booth watching a video.
a secret obsession.
You hear the door handle open and someone comes in. It was basically anything goes.
Nearly leads to a suicide.
I wanted to find the least painless way possible of just ending it.
What saved his life?
I was tired of dealing with it. I was tired of all the ups and downs. I was going to have to tell her.
Tomorrow on the 700 Club.
Well, people often think socialism is about a century old, but a best-selling author says it's part of a larger movement that goes back more than 2,000 years. John Waggy has more.
In his new book, Ameritopia, best-selling author Mark Levin goes back as far as Plato and Socrates to describe the clash between two worldviews. Those who want a utopian society run by elites where the individual serves the state, and those who say the state should have strict limits and first protect the individual's rights. Levin says the statists, whose philosophical ancestors include Plato and Karl Marx, have gained much ground in today's America, and that the nation's founding fathers warned about the threat of federal regulation in citizens' daily lives. Levin writes, America has become a society in which the people are wise enough to choose their own leaders, but too incompetent to choose the right light bulb.
Well, we have with us Mark Levin. He's written a book with an intriguing title, Ameritopia. Mark, it's good to have you with us. Thank you for being with us.
You know, Pat, it's a great honor. I'm a big fan. I love your program. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. You know, you emphasize very strongly the 10th Amendment. What you said the left is ignoring that amendment. What do they want here in America?
What they want is a heavily centralized, concentrated government, which is what they have, which is exactly the opposite of what the framers talked about. And we talk about this superficially, so what I decided to do is go back and see where all this philosophy comes from that they rely on. And I just picked a few of the philosophers that seem to fit perfectly. Plato in the Republic with his caste system and the philosopher kings, these masterminds. And we have Thomas More in Utopia, where the word comes from, with this radical egalitarianism, where everybody's equal and the government imposes its will to that end. And we have Thomas Hobbes with the Leviathan, this massive central government, where we have a sovereign and we are the subjects. And of course, Marx and Engels, where we have this phony two-class system, the landowners and the workers fighting with each other until somehow we have this paradise that develops. And that, to some extent, is what we see with the obsession, the endless obsession with government today, which is constantly involved in calibrating our lifestyles, and not for the good, but for the bad. And then, Pat, we have the other side, which is unalienable rights. These are God-given unalienable rights. It's right there in the Declaration. Where did that come from? It came from a number of people, including John Locke, who emphasized individual sovereignty. So what I try and explain in this book is there are really two major philosophical divides here. One is enlightened. The funny thing about people of faith are attacked all the time for rejecting reason and knowledge and science. Excuse me. We accept all of those. And as Locke says, reason brings us to have faith and to believe in God. On the other hand, the other folks who claim to represent science and reason and all the rest completely ignore it.
Well, you mentioned, one very popular author named Thomas Friedman, who writes for the New York Times, who pretty much wants to ignore the Constitution, override it. He thinks that the Constitution is a restriction on the utopians who want to make this a much better world, according to them.
Well, in that sense, he's right, because constitutionalism and utopianism can't live. What is this utopianism? Utopianism is a fantasy. It's a dogma. It's a false religion, in which some mastermind or a group of mastermind and their experts claim to have the power to reshape man, to change the nature of man, in essence, to build heaven on earth. And what they build, frankly, is hell on earth. They build these miserable societies throughout human history, and yet these masterminds, and we have them today, they think, oh, well, that was all bad. It wasn't done right. It was done piecemeal. We have the real plan, the real ideal society, as Plato would call it. The fact of the matter is that what they propose is impossible, it's impracticable, and what they do in order to get around that is they're always talking about big visions and ambitious government in the future, that we just haven't surrendered enough of our individual liberty and enough of our private property to make it work. And you can even hear them talk that way today.
What did you find out in your historical research about health care? They seem to focus in on that very much.
That's a great question. We find that the issue of government run and government control over health care goes as far back as Plato's Republic, probably before and throughout. And it's interesting that these top-down authoritarian, if not totalitarian regimes, or fictions even, they want to control health care because health care controls the people. It's not really about health care. It's about control, coercion, torment, and basically dispiriting the people and denuding them of their individual liberty.
How deeply is our current president and his advisors or his advisors into this philosophy? Do you think they are utopian without question?
I think they're utopian without question, wittingly or unwittingly. They have an ideology, and they're not going to let facts and experience and their record get in the way, so they keep pushing it regardless. And, I watched the State of the Union speech, and one of the things that troubles me enormously is when we have a president, any president, who stands up there and talks about good people who should be subsidized and embraced, bad people who should be attacked and viciously so, and good businesses that should be subsidized, bad businesses that should be punished. First of all, the president has no authority under our Constitution to fundamentally transform America or treat Americans that way. So that's number one. Number two, this mindset that one person, one mastermind, coming out of 310 million of us, we the riffraff, can somehow figure out how to rearrange society, how to superimpose on top of this society some top-down, heaven on earth, is the most dangerous concept of them all. And yet, When you look at what's going on today in America, there's an obsession with this. More regulations, more government, and that's why I have a chapter in the book called the Post-Constitutional America. The Constitution is all but ignored today. We've got a massive federal judiciary that is involved in all kinds of activism. We have a massive fourth branch of government, an administrative state, spitting out over 80,000 pages of laws every day. This thing is completely out of control.
Well, it's interesting, Mark, that they put criminal sanctions on these laws. They don't just pass laws and say, wouldn't it be nice if? They say, if you disobey, we will put you in prison. So our prisons are choked with people who are being arrested for violating these laws.
That's right. And as a matter of fact, the Congressional Research Service was asked, how many of these federal regulations over the years have been passed have criminal penalties? And they said, we don't know. We know there's tens of thousands of them, but we don't know how many. Now, think about that. We have strict liability provisions in these regulations. They're being spit out by bureaus and agencies, so numerous, we can't even count them. We're all strictly liable for them. And there's an enormous array of laws covering. The real question isn't what is regulated today. The real question today is what isn't regulated today.
Thomas Donahue, who's head of the chamber, said that they had done some research and found that in the pipeline there are twice as many regulations waiting to be put in effect than there are right now, which is just as shocking. Deprivation of our liberty.
You know, Alexis de Tocqueville talked about this in Democracy in America, which is actually 2 books, and he was not a contemporary of the framers. He was somewhat later, but he looked back and he said, you know, in America, I think these problems that democracies tend to have will be avoided because the Americans are a different people. They're individualistic. They have a different history than they have in Europe. They will resist this. They have all these local governments. They have these states that will resist it. Well, for 100 years, the left has done everything it can to destroy these barriers to tyranny. And so what we have now are just these endless regulations. And the way to really de Tocqueville thought to destroy a people and destroy their spirit is through the heavy weight of what he called administrative despotism. And I don't think there's any question we see this happening today.
Well, that's exactly right. Mark, thank you so much for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, his book is called Ameritopia, #1 bestseller on the New York Times bestseller list, and it's been up there for a number of weeks. And it's an intriguing book based on constitutional and political theory that goes way back into the founding of this nation and beyond. It's very, very interesting. Mark, thanks again for being with us.
God bless you.
You too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the thing we've got to remember is John Adams said it well, said we don't have a government armed with sufficient power to curb the animal passions of mankind. Our government is made only for a moral and a religious people. It is wholly inadequate for the government of any other. This Constitution is made for it. It's inadequate for any other. And we'll never have a utopian system until we have free people who are governed by God himself. And unless people are self-restrained under the anointing and power of the Holy Spirit, it'll never be. But in the old days, we were controlled by biblical truth. We believed the Bible. Our people accepted the Bible. A lot of them didn't live by it, but as a people, we accepted certain biblical norms. And that was a controlling force. And we've thrown the Bible out. I mean, it's amazing what the left has done. Well, anyhow, Mark Levin's done a great job in bringing these truths home to us. Terry?
Good read. Well, up next, the Giants and the Patriots tell us what trumps the Super Bowl.
Faith is one of the most important things you can have in terms of a game as violent as we play week in and week out. And it helps you to understand that there's no such thing as luck, and it's all about work ethic and the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of life as a whole.
We've got the pregame coverage you won't see anywhere else. That's on today's 700 Club.
My PSA was 14. One day, Janet says, "You're going to the doctor." I needed to get a second opinion, so we contacted Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
To find out more about our unique treatment options for complex and advanced stage cancer, go to cancercenter.com.
If you have prostate or lung cancer or whatever, you can see what their survival rates are.
You can also check for participating insurance plans. Cancer Treatment Centers of America is different. It's state-of-the-art medicine, unique treatment options, and a level of compassion that cannot be copied. Why our people? People who give you not only their expertise, but their humanity and the most thoughtful, well-organized, patient-centered care you'll find anywhere.
I didn't expect to learn a lesson about how to treat people by being in a hospital.
Every minute counts when you're fighting complex or advanced stage cancer. So please call or visit cancercenter.com today. Appointments are available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
To see this week's top on-demand videos, go to CBN.com.
Well, several years ago, one of the major media outlets said, we're having a contest, 100 prominent people to pick the score of the Super Bowl. So I said, Lord, what's it going to be? And I wrote down a couple of numbers. I sent them in, and guess what? I won. And so they gave me this beautiful brass football. And every year afterwards, I've been trying to predict the same thing. And so the Giants and Patriots are meeting, and my pick is the Giants by 3. So let's take a look at what it used to be and what it's going to be in their second Super Bowl win in 4 years. For the Patriots, it's the chance for revenge. Here's sports reporter Sean Brown.
Hello and welcome to Lucas Oil Stadium here in Indianapolis for CBN's coverage of Super Bowl 46, where the grudge match between the New England Patriots and the New York Giants will happen this Sunday. It was just 4 short seasons ago that the Pats' aim at perfection was taken from right under their noses by the Giants. So this time around, you might say there's a little bit of revenge at stake. But regardless of all that, players from both teams agree that there's a lot more to life than winning a Super Bowl championship.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and I put him first, but he's given me this opportunity to showcase on a large scale about the works that he's done in my life.
My faith has just helped me just because I know it's an audience of one, and I'm just performing for Jesus.
Two-time Pro Bowler Justin Tuck was here when the Giants upset the Patriots 4 seasons ago. And he says he gives God all the glory for getting him back here once more.
You know, you talk about so many guys that have played this game to the best of their abilities for so many years and never had the opportunity to be here. You know, I'm completely blessed to just have the opportunity to be here. Now, 2 times in 7 years, man, you know, I definitely give him all the praise for that.
Giants wideout Hakeem Nicks had a pretty good season, and he credits his success on the field to his relationship with Jesus Christ.
You know, I'm all in. I'm all in with Christ. I think that's why I'm all in with this game and why I'm here today. Just knowing what he put me here for, knowing why he put me on a pedestal to exalt him, and, you know, humble myself, and that's what I let him do.
Faith is one of the most important things you can have in terms of a game as violent as we play week in and week out, and it helps you to understand that there's no such thing as luck, and it's all about work ethic and the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of life as a whole.
This is Patriots running back Danny Woodhead's first Super Bowl. He's probably the smallest guy on the team at about 5'7", 195 pounds. But it hasn't stopped him from contributing to his team. And he says while winning the championship is nice, there's something else that's a little bit more meaningful.
I think that's the number one part of my life. Without my relationship with Christ, you know, nothing else really matters. This is obviously the greatest, you know, situation to be in football and in my athletic career, but my faith comes first.
You definitely, you know, have to have a lot of faith in yourself and God and Jesus and understand that you're here for a purpose and you know, you've been given a great stage to go out there and present your talents and never taking that for granted and understand that, you know, your faith is what got you here and you know, something you have to lean on constantly.
Veteran wide receiver Deion Branch has been here 3 times before, and he says if there's one thing he's learned, it's that football is not always going to be around.
Life is bigger than just football. This is temporary. I can't do this forever. You know, but what I am, I'm gonna be a God-fearing Christian. You know, I have to be the father to my kids, the husband to my wife. I have to do that forever, but this won't last forever.
Like so many other players, This is Matt Slater's first Super Bowl. And with all the pressure and excitement that can come to a first-timer, he says remembering God's plan for his life is a sure way to keep the overall perspective.
I'm a true believer that God's in control. And, Romans 8:28 says that God is going to work everything together for those who love God and called according to his purpose. So, you have to, at the end of the day, just trust the plan and trust that we don't always know what the plan is, but it's not up to us to know the plan. It's God's plan. And, with that in mind, and along with keeping the eternal perspective, this is temporary for all of us. This is temporary, and the real joy and the real fun is going to start when we leave this world. So I think keeping those things in mind and in perspective really help you deal with anything, not only on the field but off the field.
Listen, these guys at the top of the game, this is a game in which advertisers will spend $3.5 million for one 30-second spot. 30 seconds, they'll spend $3.5 million to advertise their product, because there'll be hundreds of millions of people, perhaps 1 billion or more around the world watching this contest. And these athletes, they're the top. They're at the very top of their game. And what do they say? They say Jesus Christ is the most important thing. Football is not the most important thing. The most important thing is Jesus. And I, just urge you today. I used to think when I was a kid that religion and Christianity was for young little kids and for little old ladies. But for those of us who are out wanting to enjoy the party life and the good times of life, it was secondary. Sure, occasionally we went to church, but it didn't mean anything. And then one day I met Jesus, and it completely transformed my life. And he can transform your life. He can make you into some person like you said. It isn't possible that I could be that. It isn't possible that I could be that way. Yes, there could be a few moments of fame, and not many of you are going to get to the Super Bowl. Not many athletes will get into the professional leagues to begin with, and if they do get there, to get to the World Series or the Super Bowl, not many. But I tell you, the Bible says whosoever will may come. And there's a more important place to be than in that stadium out in Indianapolis. More important is heaven itself. Do you want to be in heaven? Do you want to spend eternity with Jesus? Would you like to have eternal bliss, joy unspeakable and full of glory? Well, that's what the Lord promises you and me if we just receive him and take his blessing and give our lives to him. And if you want that blessing, I want to lead you in a simple prayer. If you'll pray that with me and mean it in your heart, Jesus Christ will save you and give you a brand new life. I ask you now to bow your head. Wherever you are, I want you to bow your head and I want you to pray with me. Pray these words. Jesus. Pray with me. Jesus. I've wanted other things. I've wanted pleasure. I've wanted worldly success. I've wanted fame and adoration and admiration. Lord, I realize that many of the things I've asked for are empty, and I want what really counts. Jesus, I know heaven is what really counts. And I want to be part of your heavenly kingdom. And so, Lord, I pray right now. I open my heart to you and I say, Lord, I am yours from this moment on. Come into my heart, live your life in me, and from this moment on, I will live for you and I will serve you. Thank you, Jesus, that you've heard my prayer, and thank you that you've come into my heart. Thank you. Now, for you, those of you who prayed with me, I have something I want to give you. It's a little packet. And you say, I just prayed with Pat. This will bless you. I went into the audio room some time ago and I sat down and I just poured out my heart as to what it means to be born again, what it means to know the Lord, what it means to have a transformed life, what happens if you sin, what happens if you what about the Lord's coming, what about the baptism of the Spirit. It's all in here. And I'll give it to you free so that you won't just say this is a one-time thing, but I want you to live your life for the Lord. And I want you to be there when he comes back. And I want you to be part of the great company of believers. We'll send this to you free if you just call and say, I want a new day, I want that CD, I want that booklet in there, and I want to know more. It's all free. Pick up your phone and call and say, I just prayed with Pat. I gave my heart to Jesus Christ. And that's my Super Bowl, my day when I met Jesus Christ. Terry has more.
Well, food prices are rising, but one mom's grocery bill is way down. We're going to show you how she feeds her family of 5 on just $35 a week.
Got a question for Pat? Send us yours now on CBN.com. We'll bring it online with your questions from our live chat room later on today's 700 Club.
Everybody wants to get a great price for TV, but are you really getting a good deal? I'm going door to door to let everyone know how much money they can save with Dish.
Don't panic, but you're paying too much for TV.
Yes, you are. Movie guy?
Love movies.
We like mysteries.
Sports, all sports.
Get all your favorite channels for less.
Have you heard the news? There's a new way to save money, and you're looking right at it. Your TV. Prices start at just $19.99 a month for a full year. Call now and ask about no commitment and no contract options. The choice is yours.
Who is your current provider? DirecTV.
Oh, cable's just way expensive.
About your bill. It's too high.
Way too high.
No! This is what Dish is going to save you your first year.
Wow. Really? Plus, if you love movies, you'll enjoy HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, and Starz free for 3 months. And you'll also get Blockbuster at Home included when you sign up, with unlimited access to over 100,000 movies, games, and TV shows.
They got a lot of freebies in that package.
I like this. No brainer.
Come on, man. Let's watch TV.
Make the switch and call Dish today. Let's watch TV.
Welcome to Washington for the CBN Newsbreak. An American missionary couple have been killed in Mexico. John and Wanda Casillas had lived in Mexico for over 30 years. John was a Baptist preacher, and together the couple ran a church in Santiago. Loved ones say drug cartels made living in the area dangerous, but their love for the Mexican people made them stay.
There's no doubt that they're going to be remembered as martyrs. I mean, they've lived for God. They died in their, on the battlefield for God.
The couple were killed during an apparent robbery. A safe and electronics are missing from their home. The murders mark the second slaying of American missionaries in that region in the last year. A federal court is backing a Christian counseling student who wanted to refer a gay client to another counselor. Eastern Michigan University expelled Julia Ward from its counseling program 3 years ago after she made the request due to religious convictions. Now the U.S. 6th Court of Appeals has reversed a lower court's judgment and is allowing Ward to argue her religious discrimination case before a Detroit-based federal jury. The university says it dismissed Ward because her referral request violated the American Counseling Association's Code of Ethics. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com. Pat and Terry will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
This room can be a source of peace and relaxation, but as we age, it can also be a scary place for falls and serious injury. Here's how a safe step walk-in tub can keep that from happening. A safe step walk-in tub means independence for people with limited mobility. It also offers incredible therapeutic relief for all kinds of aches, pains, and stress. A safe step walk-in tub comes with more standard features than any other tub, including dual hydro massage jets that are specially targeted to sore muscles and joints in your legs and lower back. Safety never felt so good with the less than 4-inch step up, so you barely have to lift your feet to get in. They're made right here in the USA. Installation is included and they come with a lifetime warranty. So take your first step toward feeling great and stay in the home you love.
Now's the perfect time to call 1-888-774-4987 and learn about our best offer of the year. Plus, call now to find out if you qualify for our Helping Hand rebate up to $750. Call 1-888-774-4987. Rebates are limited.
Well, if you factor in every type of debt, the average American is more than $40,000 in the red. But not Crystal Payne. This money-saving mom is completely debt-free thanks to one simple promise.
When Jesse and Crystal Payne married, they made each other a promise. They would never go into debt except to buy a house. So with a little savings and income from their part-time jobs, Jesse went off to law school. They started with their grocery budget, $35 a week. Crystal began shopping at thrift stores and mastered the art of couponing. In her book, The Money-Saving Mom's Budget, Crystal shares how the family of 5 lived on less than what they made and stayed out of debt, too.
Please welcome to the 700 Club the author of the new book, The Money-Saving Mom's Budget, Crystal Payne. Crystal, wow, you guys are an inspiration.
Thanks so much for having me.
You know, a lot of people, I think, grab hold of books because they're looking for a quick answer, good grief, get me out of my financial debt crisis. But you say, while there are answers, that this is really a process. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, well, and I think a lot of times people think, you know, a book, this is going to change my life. I buy this book, I do this thing, you know, but you are in control of your finances and you are the one that you have to make the decisions. You have to have the self-discipline. You have to work hard in order for it to work.
You know, you seem to have had an understanding of that as really quite a young couple. I mean, sometimes it takes people a while to figure that out. How did you get to the place where you felt like with the minimum income that you had, that your husband was going to go to law school and you were going to come out of that debt-free?
You know, it was the commitment that we made before we got married that we really wanted to stay out of debt. Our parents had both modeled really good financial stewardship for us, and we wanted to stand on their shoulders. And so that was, you know, we committed that we were going to try this thing, even though we didn't know if it was going to work.
Yes.
And you know, God was gracious and faithful.
Why did you sense I mean, a lot of people don't even think about it. They think of debt as the American way of life. Why did you and your husband have such a sense of the fact that you didn't want to do that? What was the catalyst?
You know, seeing our parents and seeing their financial stewardship and seeing how they were able to give so much because they were wise stewards of their money, that really inspired us, and that's really our heartbeat, is that we want to be able to, you know, be financially wise so that we can save and so that we can give.
And it's not like you're living in some substandard quality of life. I mean, you all have a wonderful lifestyle, but you say, I mean, I think the shocking statistic to all of us is that you feed a family of 5 on $35 a week. How in the world do you do that?
Well, that figures, it's when we first got married, it was $30 a week, and then when we had our first child, we moved up to $35, and we've gradually
$5 a child.
You know, so we're more like, we could do it on 35, but we more shoot for 50 right now because my husband likes to eat more red meat.
Oh, you excessive people, you. Is that basically a couponing thing? How do you do that?
You know, it's coupons are definitely part of it, but it's buying ahead. There's a 12-week sales cycle for all groceries, and so we try to buy things when they're at their rock bottom price and then pair a coupon with a sale. Buying in bulk. We don't buy a lot of processed food, and so we make a lot of things from scratch. I freezer cook, and just implementing all of these things together, you know, and it's a process. And so don't anyone else think that you can go out and try to live on $35 a week.
You say that in the book. You say, don't think you're just going to read this book and kaboom, it's going to happen for you. Because part of it is just what you said, I think, understanding the system and how to make it work for you instead of feeling like you're governed by it, isn't it?
Right. And it's, you know, it's the baby steps, just taking it really slow. You know, I tell people start with $40 per person per week and then gradually try to shave off 1%, 2%, 3% every single month. And over time, you can really get it down low. I know people who are living on, $10 per person per week or even less, and so it's really possible, but it's not a competition. Just do the best you can do with the resources and the time you have.
Well, and every improvement is valuable and valid.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be extreme. It can just be figure out how to shave off what you can. You said that you and your husband, when he went off to law school, agreed, or before you were married, even agreed that you would never carry heavy debt with the exception of a home. And yet, after he graduated from law school, you decided not to buy a home. And then some things happened that actually proved that choice to be very responsible for you. What happened?
Yes, well, after law school, everybody's like, oh, well, now, you're done with law school, of course, now it's time to get the house, you got to get a house. And, we just thought, well, we don't know where we're going to be living in a few years. We don't know. And so we're just going to keep renting. And we really had this audacious goal. We really wanted to pay cash, but we're like, oh, can we do this? And so, well, then soon after law school, then my husband lost his job. And we didn't have a lot in savings, and we were so grateful that we hadn't gone into debt, because then, the economy wasn't good. And if we had tried to be dealing with this house, and selling this house, because then we had to move for him to go and work somewhere else. And so it would have just been a huge burden.
So ultimately, what did you wind up doing?
We did, then he got another job, our income increased, and we set this big goal, and we worked towards it, and we paid cash for our house.
You paid cash for your house. Yes. Wow. Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
I'm 30. My husband's 31.
Wow. And here you are, debt-free. You've paid cash for your house. That's astonishing. One of the other things you say in the book that I think is important is you said before we begin this process, we need to eliminate the clutter. What do you mean by that, and why is that important?
I think so many people are so overworked. They're so overwhelmed. There's so many things. You're spinning so many plates. And you try to add in this coupon or this budgeting thing, and it's just going to topple everything over, and so I think you need to get your life in order. You need to be a good manager of your time, and you need to get your home in order, because if you don't have those things in order, you try to add this in, and you're just going to end up overwhelmed and frustrated.
Let's end with this, because I think it's so important. You say at the end of the book that one of the things we need to do is choose contentment.
Yes, and I think that's the thing. When we were in that little basement apartment and we couldn't even afford to buy fish food one week because we couldn't, we didn't have the $2 in our budget. But, just saying, I am going to choose to, make the most of this. I'm going to do what I can with what I have, and I'm going to just be grateful. And, it was just amazing, because when you have that attitude, it changes your whole world.
Yeah, you're not stuck.
Yes, you're not stuck. You're never stuck.
The book is amazing. If you're looking for a way to change your finances, to change your life, and to scale off some of the excess and really enjoy the quality of your life, Crystal Payne has written the book for you. It is called The Money Saving Mom's Budget. You can check out her blog also, and you'll find all of that information by going to cbn.com. But she's got a lot to say, and it's worth listening to. Crystal, thank you. It's great to have you with us. Kudos to you. Pat?
What an inspiration. 31. I don't know which, that's not baby boomer. Is that generation Y? Whatever X, Y, I don't know. But Crystal's an inspiration for whatever age. Well, coming up, time to take your questions from our live chat room. Tina says, my mom says her dead little sister follows her around the house all day. How can I tell her this isn't biblical? Well, we'll answer her question and more when we come back after this.
Do you have wrinkles and sagging skin? Would you like to remove years of aging from your face in about an hour? Now you can with Lifestyle Lift. This amazing procedure takes about 1 hour right in our office. See the difference immediately. No general or IV anesthesia. Return to your activities quickly. Call now and get this informational kit free. Financing available. Lifestyle Lift. America's experts in making you look younger.
It gave me back all of my confidence.
Call now and get this informational kit free.
Welcome to Preview Weekend.
Welcome to Preview Weekend.
Welcome to Preview Weekend.
Regent University is amazing.
You can't understand the university unless you visited and met the people.
I felt a sense of peace walking around the campus.
And I just said to myself, that's something I have to check out.
Your calling, your purpose, your future. Find your place at Regent University Preview Weekend. Call 800-373-5504 or visit www.regent.edu/preview. Join us March 8th through 10th for Preview Weekend.
Tomorrow,
I was in a booth watching a video.
a secret obsession.
You hear the door handle open and someone comes in. It was basically anything goes.
Nearly leads to a suicide.
I wanted to find the least painless way possible of just ending it.
What saved his life?
I was tired of dealing with it. I was tired of all the ups and downs. I was going to have to tell her.
Tomorrow on the 700 Club.
Well, you may not know this, but CBN programs are broadcast in over 100 countries, and actually 90% of our audience comes from overseas. We'd like to show you what happened when a child from Benin watched the 700 Club for the very first time.
For 9-year-old Kumlan, just getting from place to place has always been a challenge. The boy's right leg has been paralyzed and frozen in a bent position at the knee since birth.
When I walked with the crutch that my dad gave me, I had to wrap my leg around it and move very slowly. I couldn't straighten my leg out.
But watching other kids run and play was the hardest thing for him.
I would stand sometimes and watch them run or play soccer. I have never been able to play soccer my whole life.
After his mother died, Kumlan's father has been raising his son alone. The boy helps his dad with a few chores, but feels bad that he can't do more.
I can't do too much. I wash the dishes and sweep the floors.
Kumlan's father works as a laborer, clearing other people's fields for planting. So there's never been enough money for doctors or hospitals. One day, though, a CBN-supported evangelist was showing the 700 Club in their town. Kumlan's father carried his son all the way there so they could watch.
I put the boy down next to me and we started to watch. After a while, Pat Robertson started to pray, so we prayed too. A few minutes later, Kumlan started tapping my leg. "Daddy," he said, "look." My son was stretching out his leg. He had never done that before.
Then Kumlan stood up on both feet. After only one hesitating step, the boy, who had never even put weight on the leg, began to walk. The crowd got excited when they realized what had happened. That day, Kumlan, his father, and 50 others prayed to become Christians. It's now been a year since that miracle, and Kumlan has had no trouble walking or running. To help him celebrate, we gave him his first soccer ball. He knew right away what to do with it.
I have seen many people that cannot walk, but Jesus let me walk. I am so happy.
And now, whenever someone comes to town showing the 700 Club, Robert and his son are quick to invite others to watch it with them.
I want to say a big well done to those people who brought us this television program. I say thank you to them and pray that God will reward them.
I am very thankful to you for this program.
Wow. I mean, you just have to say, wow, don't you? Here's a little boy who had no idea who anybody on this program was. They didn't even know where it came from. They just came to watch a television show, had never walked on that leg in his life, spent his life watching other kids play soccer, longing to be a part of it, wishing that he could help his dad more in his life. And then God chose to use the message of his love that was being given on this show in that part of Africa and to heal that little boy. To heal that little boy just out of his grace and his mercy. But out of the healing came everyone saying, this is a God we want to serve. Do you know how that happened? It happened because people like you joined the 700 Club. That's how we're able to broadcast in that nation and many, many others around the globe, bringing the message of God's love. It's 65 cents a day, $20 a month to join the 700 Club. Thousands of people have done that, saying, we want to make a difference in the world. If you haven't joined, today's a great day to do that. Just call that toll-free number that's on your screen. It's 1-800-759-0700. Say, I want to join the 700 Club. When you do, we want to send you this latest teaching that's been done called The Quest for God. Gordon Robertson's done this. You know, from the beginning of time, man has tried to search for God, try to figure out how he could connect with God. Christianity is the only faith in the world where our God reaches down to us and says, I love you. I want a relationship with you. I want to redeem your life. I want to give you goodness and light. And so we want you to have this as you find out about some of the other faiths in the world. You know, there's kind of a common thought in the world today that all roads lead to the top of the mountain, but it's not the truth. The Bible says when you know the truth will set you free. We want you to have the truth. When you join 700 Club Gold, that's the next level up. That's $40 a month. We're going to send you the Quest for God and 2 more so that you can share them with family and friends. We have 1,000 Club level. That's a gift of $84 a month. And when you join us with that, we're going to send you 1 for yourself and 4 for your friends. If you're like me, I've got a big family. I want everybody to have one. So when you call now, we'll get these gifts out to you. It's our way of saying thank you for helping us take the message of God's love to the whole world. Well, we've got time for some questions. Are you ready?
Let's go.
This is Tina, who says, my mom has a terminal illness. She claims that her little sister, who died when they were children, follows her around the house all day. Is there anything in the Bible that would support this? I want to talk to her about this, but I don't know how to approach the subject.
Nicole, 2 things may happen. Your mother may be just having mental hallucinations that she is so far gone in this disease that she is having fantasies, and fantasies do happen to people, and they hallucinate, and they may be giving her drugs and medicine that causes...
Yes, I was going to say, drugs, a lot of drugs, if you look up what she's taking and look at the side effects, many of them cause things like that.
The other thing is, the Bible clearly warns against familiar spirits. So look up in a concordance, familiar spirit, excuse me, and see what it says, because it is wrong, it is condemned. These are demonic spirits. It's not some little sister. All right.
Okay, this is Brianna, who says, when I was in the 2nd grade, there was a girl who was jealous of me. I'm in 5th grade now, and others are jealous of me. I tell them to be grateful for what they have, but it doesn't help. Why are other kids jealous of what I have? They have more than me, and I'm not jealous. Are they just acting like jerks?
Honey, I don't know what you got. So I can't tell whether they're jealous or not. Yeah. So I tell you, you've got to be careful that you don't think you're so special that everybody else is jealous of you. I just think that, look, focus on Jesus. Whether you're 10 years old or 8 years old or 80 years old, focus on Jesus. Let his approval speak to you, and you speak for him. And your glory and everything you have is him. God forbid that I should boast save of the cross of Christ my Lord. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the only reason we have for boasting.
And you know, sometimes in the age group that she's talking about, kids are just all about that, comparing stuff and gossiping and talking about each other. But when you do what you're talking about doing, you kind of walk through that and live above it.
That's right.
You know, it's just
I'm living for Jesus. All right,
exactly.
Go on.
This is Lucille, who says, one of my elderly friends was widowed. She's since met and fell in love with a man who was also widowed. They had a marriage ceremony with the pastor committing their marriage to God, but they still haven't obtained a marriage license because they'd lose entitlement payments that they depend on to make it each month. Is this okay, or are they living in sin?
Of course they're not. I mean, there's nothing in the Bible that says you've got to go down to a courthouse and have a marriage certificate, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they have committed their lives together before the Lord, and it's been solemnified by a clergyman. That isn't necessarily easier. But the big thing is you've committed to the Lord. The fact that you haven't signed out some paper, no, you're not living in sin. May your relationship be blessed. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Tomorrow, hear how one man came clean after having hundreds of anonymous sexual partners. See you tomorrow.
Here at CBN, we see incredible things happen when we stand together.
That's why we want to thank the thousands of you who recently pledged to join the 700 Club.
Your monthly gift makes it possible to bring crucial help to people who need it most.
Each day, you have a part in healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and broadcasting the gospel across America and around the world.
You've brought hope and help to those in desperate need
and changed their lives forever.
Just like you did for Xiaoyan. Her parents couldn't afford the heart surgery she needed. A doctor told them their daughter wasn't worth much and they should let her die. But her parents refused to give up. That's when you provided the surgery that repaired Xiaoyan's heart. You changed the world for this family.
So please watch for this mailing and send in your pledge.
This year, millions will experience the love and saving power of Jesus Christ
only because you were there.